Famalam, welcome back to God Made Dirt, the podcast. We getting it in, man. And you here with the leading lady, BK, and your boys, me, Marcel B, the MC. On God, go get that single, same as plug. I'm going to keep doing it. Anyway, the super dope, Pastor B, Money Mike, and last but definitely not least, the code breaker himself, Tarmel, man, where we have real conversations behind the curtain of religion. You know, the stuff that the church may be too holy or the world may be too embarrassed to talk about. We gonna talk about it. Today's convo, we gonna get into the challenges of parenting someone in the LGBTQIA community. Now, let me be honest. I first really had to research that, right? Because I wanted to get it right. You know, GMD is a very graceful and we are compassionate to all walks of life. So we do due diligence in every way. So me researching this to get that right was important to this show. So this show is definitely going to touch a sensitive subject, but I just want to make it clear that we approach this with an open heart because we operate in the kingdom of God, which is love and unity and very inclusive, right? We are Biblicrats. I just want to get that across. So we're going to dive into it. But before we do, man, how's everybody doing? How y'all week been going this week, man? What's up? Tarmel, what up?
Oh man, all good, man. Just hanging out, enjoying the weather.
I like these frames, bro.
Get yeah, man.
Fresh.
A little something by
Jeez.
a designer you might have heard of him called Gucci.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, man. But
stay fresh.
prior to your interruption, what I was trying to say was I was thoroughly enjoying my summer thus far. Good to see you guys, man. Mike,
So,
Mike, how you enjoying Detroit so far?
Hey man, Detroit is nice. It's great. Yeah, enjoying myself. Had some great meals since I've been here.
I think it's some undertone to that because you give Motown a hard
Hey
time.
give us a
man,
hard
listen,
time.
it's great, man. So far, I mean, I saw some sketchiness, but sketchiness everywhere.
Yeah,
man.
of course it
You
is.
know,
Definitely
but
some
I'm
sketchy.
enjoying myself.
BK, what up? What's good on the West Coast, man? You know y'all representer out there.
Oh man, it's nice. California is definitely living up to its name today. It is hot, it is beautiful, it is sunny, and everybody's out running around half naked trying to enjoy it while I'm in the house with the AC on.
Man, I like that.
So,
I like that Biblicrat tea though. It's fire on you,
That
man.
is.
For real, I'm loving that.
right?
Look at that, letting the
Look
melanin
at
shining. Look
that.
at you, man. Black girl magic, you did.
Yeah, there it
I
is.
love it, man. B,
Thank
what's
you.
up, Pastor V, man? What's good with you, bro?
Man, this week been incredible, and just taking care of the family,
Mm-hmm.
making it happen, and me and my wife got to go out and have a good time, go on a little date, and yeah, we just chilling, man. Life is good.
That's what's
Life
up,
is
man.
good,
That's
man.
what's up.
Yes, sir.
So
No need to complain about what we can't control.
exactly, ain't no point. Like an old head told me one time, no use in complaining. It's not like anybody will listen if you do it anyway.
There it is.
So man, let's dive in. So y'all know it's Pride Month, right?
Mm.
And when there's when the LGBTQIA community is celebrated, right? Of course, want to get it right. And I was curious because this what sparked this. So I saw a pastor who's an MC also, who he had like this mission, and it was like take the rainbow back, right? And so it was almost anti-gay. That's how it felt when I first saw it. And so I started to dive in, like, man, at what point was the rainbow decided to represent this community? So I did some digging, and I actually found that it goes back to 1978 when the artist Gilbert Baker, an openly gay man and a drag queen, designed the first rainbow flag. Right? Baker later revealed that he was urged by Harvey Milk, one of the first openly gay elected officials in the U.S., to create a symbol of pride for the gay community. Baker decided to make that symbol a flag because he saw flags as the most powerful symbol of pride. As he later said in an interview, our job is to, as gay people, was to come out, to be visible, to live in the truth. As I say, to get out of the lie. A flag really fit that mission because that's a way of proclaiming your visibility or saying, this is who I am. Baker saw the rainbow as a natural flag from the sky, so he adopted 8 colors for the stripes, each color, and I had no idea about this before I saw this, but says each color has its own meaning. Hot pink for sex, red for life, orange for healing, yellow for sunlight, green for nature, turquoise for art, indigo for harmony, and violet for spirit. So my question, man, the first one, man, as we dive into this, what's your thoughts on the rainbow going from, it existed before this flag existed. So it essentially a rainbow was used to now represent this. But what's your thoughts on that? BK, I want you to go first on this. Let us know your thoughts on the rainbow flag.
Um, the rainbow flag for the community, for the gay community. I I think it's good. I don't know exactly, even with the information I have, I don't know exactly
I think we lost it for a minute there.
what it is. However, I think it's fine with them using it. I think it's a good representation to take for themselves, if anything. It means something different to me. But however, when I do see it, I know exactly where it belongs to. And out here in California, I know there's certain areas where when you go into certain sections of businesses that they have it outside. Like they'll either have a mural painted up the rainbow on the side of a building, or they'll have a flag up in the window when you get ready to come in. And it's almost like, hey, this is a gay owned business, or we support gays, or whatever, in harmony to that. So I think it's a good representation for them to have pulled from. I like it.
Dope. Where you at on the money, Mike?
Like Brooke, I'm cool with it. It doesn't offend me. It doesn't bother me. I mean, we have our, some people have their own thing, and who am I to, feel weird about it? Um, yeah, I'm cool with it. Totally cool.
Where you at on the Tarmel?
Well, so I like the rainbow colors. Uh, I'm into multimedia marketing, so dope colors always,
Right.
it matters, right, to me. And so I think for me the hardest part is when you enjoy the colors of the rainbow, but you don't want to give off the wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You get what
Impression.
I'm saying? The
Yeah.
wrong impression, and so now you're afraid. You got to be comfortable in your masculinity or your perspective.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because necessarily the rainbow don't. You know, I still love the rainbow. Like you can't take the rainbow away.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like color waves are high. That's where we at right now in the fashion lane. So, but as far as them using that to represent them, I'm cool with it. I'm going to enjoy the rainbow too.
Right.
That's what
Facts.
I mean.
Where you at on the Pastor B?
Yeah, you know, if that's the symbol that they choose to use to represent um, their fashion or their lifestyle, I think that's totally fair. Um, Essentially, and I won't be deep as it relates to what the rainbow um, would mean essentially as it relates biblically. But what I'll say is, if that's what they choose to utilize as their identifier, then that's fair to them. I think you just have to be confident in who you are, and you have to be strong in who you are. And you know, if they want to use that rainbow, the rainbow has many colors. Um, kids typically like rainbows for the innocence of it and the sake of the colors and the beauty of it across the sky. And so essentially it'll mean to people, to different cultures or different groups of people, different things. So I don't, it's a flag. It's just like for them, it represents what the United States flag may represent as the country or
Right.
things of that nature. And so, that's if that's their symbol of choice. That's the symbol of choice.
I do feel like they taking all the letters of the alphabet and all the colors. It's like save some room for us.
I mean, yeah, and I don't want to be offensive. I just like you, and I'm glad you made that point. You literally got to research it because it's a lot of letters, and
Yeah.
I didn't even know that some of those words or some of those letters were utilized for other things. So it's a rainbow.
So here's my thing. I love rainbows,
Yeah.
right? To the point where every time I see one outside, I take a picture in front of one. And you'll see that on my Instagram if you follow me, MARCELB_DMC.
Shameless plug.
If you just
What
shameless plug.
what
If you
just
follow me on the
happened?
gram, you'll see that I take pictures in front of rainbows. I love rainbows. I wear right now. I'm wearing two different color shoes. Like I love multicolor fabrics. I love rainbows. Right. So at first, as we dove into this topic, it was I kind of felt like, man, why did they have to choose that for that, right? But I started to think of, a lot of times men, humans, we tend to just put these labels on things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a population out here of men that are super macho that if you wore a rainbow on your shirt, they call you gay,
Right.
and that's the association man made. Now there is a rainbow flag that this community uses, but a rainbow does not mean every person's gay, right? And then when we talk about children, children love rainbows, and I'm fine with this community using a rainbow flag. Very much no problem with it. But what I don't want is for children to be taught that rainbows mean gayness,
Correct.
right? That it can't be that as well, right? Rainbows are rainbows, but this community uses a rainbow flag, right? When you think black, red, green, that's the black pride, right? I don't want my children thinking black, red, and green is only black pride. Black, red, and green is only black, red, and green. But there's a black pride movement that uses black,
Right.
red, and green.
And those colors have significance as well.
Yep,
You know what I mean? Black is the people, the red is the blood, the green is the land.
yep,
And I think the gold for the richness is part of it too, right? The yellow. So
Isn't rainbows on the front of Crayola boxes?
yep. Yep. So that's the thing. I don't want it either way. So it's not about the gay community when as far as what we teach our children.
Right.
It's just really about us keeping things very no, this is that and this is that. Those are two totally different things. So I'm completely okay with it, at the end of the day. But a lot of this the community did and by the way, I want to break down because a lot of people don't know what these acronyms mean, right? So LGBTQIA is lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and/or questioning, intersex, and asexual and/or ally, right? We all need education on this. Like one thing we can't afford to do is just act like this doesn't exist. If you do that, then you are part of the problem. I will say that. So, um, and that's just me speaking. I won't speak for everybody here, but that's my view on it. So, but these questions, these conversations were magnified when Dwayne Wade's son, now being recognized as his daughter, Zaya, was seen wearing a dress on Instagram. Right, this was about maybe a year ago. So, there was a ton of backlash around the dress, and Dwayne allowing his then son to wear it. Right, but my question is because this kind of kicked off the transition that they announced from him going from a little boy to a little girl. But my question to y'all is: was this too early for his parents to support this decision? Tarmel, what you thinking on that?
again, the views on this panel are personal. Um, I really don't think it's a right or wrong answer to some of the things that we discuss. Our objective is not to really arrive to an answer, but to generate the conversation. So forgive us ahead of time if any way we insult anybody with our perspectives.
Right.
But so to answer your question, in my opinion, I think I think he was too young to be able to make that decision himself. Um, I don't think his brain fully formed yet, and I think that as parents and protectors, we've got to set boundaries. We've got to set the stage for them. We've got to let them take their time before they make certain decisions. And choosing your sexuality when at that time might be too big of a decision for somebody at that age, from my perspective. What you think, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. 8 years old, that's crazy. Like, yeah, for me, you know, for my daughter or my son, that was a topic. Like you said, that's something that as a parent I have to put myself in front of and be like, hey, let's figure this out about this and this. But that's tough. Like you said, your brain is not even you're not even thinking about stuff like that. Like, well, for my 8 year old, that wasn't a thing, you know. So I agree. Like I have to put my foot down as a parent and be like, hey, let's give this some time. Let's see, if it is if because people go through phases. Let's be honest. Whatever that phase may be, you go through it. So let's wait it out. Let's see what this really is. But to just yeah, I couldn't do it.
Where you at, B?
I'll say there's a difference between acceptance and enabling. Um, Too early. Uh, I think that the consensual age to have sex legally is 16 or 17. At minimum,
17.
17. That's when you should be able to make your own decisions. And I think when I say it's too early, I say that because now I'm starting to, and I don't want to come off offensive, but then I start to question what is happening in the household, what is being represented. And I'm not talking Bible, Christian, I'm talking what is being represented from the man's perspective that makes you feel comfortable enough to allow your son to make a transition for something he's not even really aware of.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
Make a transition so early like that, publicize it. I think it was too early. I think there was some enabling happening versus accepting it and learning how to navigate around it. I'm not in the shoes of Dwayne Wade, but I just think that when you speak generalized parenting across the board, and I have a son um, and a daughter, but I have a son who's 11, and like Mike said, we've got to jump in front of it, and we've got to have some conversations about how to navigate it and how to figure out where it started.
It's
And
no,
it's challenging.
it's, but we don't know how hard it was for him.
We don't.
You know what I mean? Like he could have really struggled with this topic and then went to some people he trusted, and then they may have gave him the feedback. So I don't really want to judge D Wade.
And that's why I said I'm not in his shoes.
Right.
I'm not gonna judge that.
Yeah.
Um, but again, there's a difference between acceptance and enabling. It doesn't matter where it happens,
Right.
right? Just because I accept it, don't mean I approve of it. Difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Let me,
So,
let me ask y'all this.
yeah.
So exposure leads to expansion.
Mhm.
Is this a result of years of someone 8 years old not sharing this with their parents, right? But then we get this young child who was brave enough to have this conversation with their parents, right? So now maybe this encourages other 8 year olds who may be struggling with something similar. And that's really the focus where maybe the openness to have this kind of dialogue at home hasn't always been there, right? Like there's some things that have changed over the years that that's a little more accepted, a little more liberal,
Absolutely.
um, but it's also led to more transparency between parents and their children. Am I correct on that? Do
You're
y'all
correct.
feel that?
Absolutely.
Yep.
So so what we may be seeing is just is the tough conversation. So this has been happening for years. There have been 8 year olds for years that have struggled with sexuality some type of way. That's such an early age to even have an idea of what sex is, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's what you're saying. What's being represented? What are you being exposed to
Mm-hmm.
in the home to even make you think there's attraction? Like my son is 11, and he still won't even talk about liking girls like that. Like, and I can tell it's not a it's not a he's not struggling with that. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He's not even thinking about girls to that level. Now I know he is at a certain aspect. He's a young boy, but he's not in a I want to make the decision to be this or be
But
this.
what I want to weigh in on that is, and we talked about this earlier in the pregame show, is trying. Gay does mean liking somebody of the same sex.
Right.
but it also in our culture means the decisions you make. What do you wear? What
Mm-hmm.
toys you play with?
Mm-hmm.
And so it cannot be sex yet, but it can still be gay. And I think
Things
sometimes
leading up to. I got you.
and I think sometimes we think it's the same. Like at 8 years old, he's not thinking about sex,
Right.
but at 8 years old, he likes.
He's thinking about attraction.
He's thinking about what he likes as far as his preference on what he dress, how he feels, things like that. It's not necessarily sexual yet, and
Yeah.
so I don't think we.
So, like for me, it's just, for instance, 8 years old. I don't think I developed my favorite meal yet. You know, so that's why it's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around.
But that's what
It
I'm
is.
saying. It's a
You
different
did.
day.
You pointed that out, and,
Right.
and technology too.
Yeah.
So, and I, part of me feels like it do come from that pop culture, stuff like that.
Social
Or,
media.
you see somebody making a joke on TikTok where they wearing a wig and stuff like that, and then it starts off with a wig, then you may throw on a woman's shirt or a man's pants if you're a woman. It's a domino effect.
Yep.
So, and I hate to say it this way, but sometimes a parent can push your child that way to make you, if you come from being bullied, well, you can be shifted this way a little bit, this and that, shifted this other way. So I think parenting plays a major part in it,
Yeah.
especially if you got those parents who's just trying to like, be on the forefront. Because you know how you get these parents who try to live vicariously through their kids with sports.
Mm-hmm.
It's parents out there that would live vicariously through their kids through, stuff like
Through
this
the
too.
mediums.
So
Wow.
Well, some folks feel like the kids were born this way. Some people believe in that in that perspective, like yo, they're, you know, and if it leads to them not being comfortable in their skin, then that's an issue. So
Yeah. So
it's
so I got a close friend that I knew we were doing this episode, and I have a really close friend as a gay male, and I had a conversation with him about this episode before we did it. Again, I just wanted to represent this entire thing correctly, right? And I wanted to really honor um, how that community felt and sees things in their experience, right? And he told me at a very young age that he had his GI Joes having sex together at a very young age. But what I meant to ask him, and I'm sure I will, is where did he get that though? It
right.
had to come from somewhere.
Learn behavior.
Yeah, it's some things are instinct that we're born with, but there are a lot of learned behaviors. So um, my question though to you, BK, is do you think as a society we've found a way to understand the difference between wanting to be a gay man versus wanting to transition to a woman? Because Zaya could have just been a gay male, correct? But I guess we need to understand what influenced the decision to just transition to a totally different gender. Caitlyn Jenner is another one. So do you think we're still trying to figure out what that difference is, Brooke?
I think that goes for the individual themselves. As far as Caitlyn Jenner waiting till she was as old as she was, could have just been because of the society changes, everything that she would have had to go through during that time, and also being, Bruce Jenner, an Olympic champion, and going through all of that to now. Times is very different, even from when I was young to now. So, in seeing this, and even thinking back on friends that I've had grown up with, it's like the child knows at some point in time that they do not relate or they don't feel comfortable with their friends, and they start identifying with some of these friends. Like a little boy knows, like, hey, I don't think the same as this other little boy that's my friend. I think more like my little sister
Mm.
or her friends and how they behave. I feel more comfortable this way versus that way. I don't know why it is that way or why it comes up to be this way. But one thing I have seen, and I've seen more lately, oddly enough, on YouTube, is videos with people that have gone ahead and made the change, and even has gone as far as to make the change surgically, where women have removed their breasts, gone through the hormones to be a man, and then up and decided, like, this was the worst decision I ever made in my life.
Wow.
I wish I never had made this change. I wish I didn't do this because, I would have rather have stayed how I was. This was a mistake. So I don't know if it's in those situations to where it's pushed, but I think you should take cues from little kids as to when they're telling you, like, well, I don't want to play with this person. I want to play with this person. I don't want to be around this person. Um, I want to do this. I want to wear a dress. Can I wear this? Like, well, why? Ask them how they want to ask us a million and one questions as to why,
Mm-hmm.
and
Facts.
just kind of listen to them and just find out, like, well, what makes you think that this is this? And if you feel like they don't really know and this is just a costume for them because of something that they've seen, then you just tell them, like, I don't think you're old enough. You'll know when a child is mature enough to explain to you what they're feeling on the inside. It won't go because of something they've seen. It's because of something that they feel like, well, why is it that I can't wear eyeshadow? Why do girls have all the fun stuff? I'm like, well, what makes you think that that's fun? Because you look pretty. You want to look pretty? It's like, well, why is this? Because that right there could be a cue of this little boy is tapping into his sexuality, or this little boy is just metrosexual.
Mm.
He likes the way these things look because he's in tune with fashion. So I think it's more important that you listen to what your kids are saying instead of pushing an agenda like, oh, well, I think my son is gay. Therefore, let me introduce him more into these gay things because I want to be acceptant of him in that decision. Well, wait
Mm.
until he makes that decision because obviously at a younger age, you're just trying to figure it out.
For sure. BK,
Don't push them one way or another.
let me ask you this. Do you think, is there a Zaya Wade because there was a Caitlyn Jenner? You get what I'm saying?
I think there was a Zaya Wade because there was always a Zaya Wade. I think who that young girl is versus who Caitlyn Jenner is completely different. Um, just those two stances alone. She identifies more as being a woman. I don't know if this young girl is deciding to make that change. For all you know, she could be a young girl, or yeah, she wants to be a girl, but she's attracted to girls. And it's like, okay, well, that would make sense. You're born a boy. If we're supposed to be sticking with, male and female type thing, that would make sense. You feel more like a woman, but you're attracted to women.
Mm.
Mm.
That's not making a change. Just like Caitlyn Jenner, here it is. She dates women, but she wanted to be a woman.
Yeah.
So it's really strange. It's very, in my opinion, it's very confusing. It's very complicated. And I'm just thankful that's not a decision that I personally have ever suffered with or had to make. And I feel like, especially as a Christian, I'm like, my heart kind of reaches out for them because everybody else, including society, makes it so hard for them to just figure out them because it goes against the societal norm. It's like
But
show them a little grace and just wait for them to figure it out.
for me, I'm like Brooke. It is confusing because you don't know. So I have a homegirl, and she's gay, right? But her mate, to be safe, her mate did it was a female, did the transformation to grow a mustache, cut her hair, got a brush cut. So I'm confused that, wait, you know, you can just be a girl and still date a girl, but you went through the whole transformation of looking like a guy just to date a girl. You get what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
that confuses me, is that, wait, you didn't have to do that to still date a girl. So that's where the confusing part comes in for me, and it's like I don't understand it, and maybe I just need to do a little more research on it. Therefore, I don't step on people's toes or offend nobody. But it is a confusing lane to be in.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's tough because for me, it's difficult to understand. Yes, because it's very confusing, and I think it's based on perspective. Like you said, you see a girl who dresses like a guy to be with a girl, and like you said, it's like you could just be a girl and be with a girl.
Like you hear, oh, I like females say I like females because they're more sensitive to my needs. But you allow the female to do the manly things to you. So I'm like,
It can
is you getting your cake and eat it too? Or are you trying to get the best of both
Well, and
worlds?
and again, we don't know nothing.
Yeah, we
Right.
don't.
So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we want you guys to provide feedback on how you feel, and in
Yep.
the near future, we're gonna
100%.
have somebody on the panel that's a specialist in this area. But
Sure.
it's also tough to parent in this
It's
time.
overwhelming, man.
It's tough to navigate between the racial divides and now sexuality at those young ages. It's
Yep.
just a different time, man.
Tough.
That leads me to my next question for you first, Tarmel.
Yeah.
So, there's one thing to
See
be
what
in.
I can do to help.
There's one thing to be in Dwayne Wade's position where your child brings this to you, right?
Yep.
I think that's super tough. First
Mhm.
off, that's incredibly that's a big
It's
challenge,
brave though.
and my hats off to him for navigating it the best way he can, right?
Yep.
Um, but how do we teach our children that haven't brought this to us thus far to coexist with this?
Mhm.
How do we do that?
Yep. So one of the things that these shirts with the badges say is inclusion around the top. Inclusion only. Um, and so in my house, we teach inclusion. In my house, we also teach respect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like never make fun of people for being different than you. Um, one thing that I've always believed is if you treat everybody the same, you ain't never got to treat nobody different.
Mm.
And so respect is a lot of people want to say is earned, but no, that's the baseline.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Respect is lost,
Mm.
in my
That's
opinion.
good.
And so, um, just because they're different or they want to wear something different or they like something different, to be honest, that's to me that's a growth opportunity. If you can, I love being around different people. Um, I also hope that my kids can wait a little while before they start to make those kind of decisions. In my house, I don't want them having AK-47s yet.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't want them driving at 8, even though they might feel like they should be able to drive at 8.
Mhm.
And choosing their sexuality when God's chose it already, just I don't think that should be on the radar at 8.
Right.
So that's my perspective.
Nice, Pastor B. Where you at on it, man?
Yeah, it's tough to um, navigate and parent in this society, especially when things are pushed on our children from a social media perspective, from a televised perspective, marketing, all of these different things, even in the schools. Um, but for my house, um, the Bible says, "As for me and my house," Joshua says this, "We gonna serve the Lord." And I teach, my kids to not disrespect or disregard people for their choices. We love people where they are, um, but like you said, it's inclusion. But in the same breath, I make sure that I try to exemplify by action and deed
That's good.
what love is supposed to look like and how it was intended. And so, my wife and I got two beautiful kids. I love on my wife. I teach my son at 11. You treat a woman with respect because they're exposed to so many other things anyway.
100%.
They're already exposed to things at school, in the classroom, on the cell phones, whatever. So I want them to get the best exposure, and that's the exposure that they're most used to. This is how you respect a woman. This is how you treat a woman. This is how you love on somebody when you married, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and these are some of the things you do. And then if you do encounter people that are different, you don't disrespect them or talk about them. But it also don't mean that you have to associate or hang around them either, because then now we got to have another conversation,
Yep.
right? Because that's how questions start being asked and answered by the wrong party. You know what I'm saying? And so, because society changes, doesn't mean parenting has to, and that's the problem that we're experiencing. Parents are trying to tailor parenting to match what children are used to now seeing.
You're trying to be your
You trying to be your
child's
child's
friend,
best friend.
more than
Yeah.
you being
Yeah.
their parent.
And you have to be understanding of your children. You have to be. You have to have that open door policy to be able to feel comfortable for them to come talk to you.
Right.
Because I'd rather them talk to me about it than to talk to somebody else. But at some point, you still have to have that overriding parent that says, yes, I know you're having these feelings. Let's talk about where they develop. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about what you saw, and then let's navigate it from there. So you don't shame them. You talk to them about it. You respect them. But the greatest way to prove and see love is to exemplify it. You know what I mean? Exemplify what you want what your children to see. I want my daughter to know this is how a man is supposed to love on a woman. By the way, I love on her mother. I want my son to know this is the way you're gentle and respectful to women. You know, just from a man's perspective. And then, my son like girls, right? But you have to have those conversations. And
It's a tough line to walk between.
It is.
Meeting your kids where they at, which is very important,
Right.
to me, and also teaching them discipline and a standard.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because I try not to. I don't want to make them me.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But I also want them to understand, like, yo, that fire is hot, it'll burn you.
Mhm.
You know, so it's a tough balance.
So
What about you, Mike?
yeah, as person on this table with the oldest child, I have a 17-year-old.
There you go.
So my job with her growing up from a baby to a 17-year-old was to show her and teach her my upbringing, but still try to stay in that area to where I have to be able to relate to, right? So morals come first. I'm gonna teach you what I was taught and what I did, and sometimes what I should have did, right?
Yep.
But with that, I always keep myself available to hear things. So, for instance, my mom wasn't having sleepovers. You wasn't going to a sleepover because that's where it starts at. I already lose you for 8 hours in the day because of school. I don't know what's going on there. So whatever I can control,
Yes,
as the person who sends you money, who take care of you, yeah. No, you're not going. No, you can't go over Jessica's house. No,
Right.
you got 2 hours, y'all. Yeah, and that might be too long. So if my daughter came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, I think blah blah blah. I think I'm attracted to her." We're gonna talk. We're gonna figure it out. I'm not gonna sit here and go, "Oh, you gross." No, no, no. That's not parenting.
I think at 17 though, she's further in her
Agreed.
developmental process.
Agreed.
Than 8-year-old.
Absolutely.
My job is not to teach my daughter 2021 because I wasn't born in 2021.
Right.
There you go.
You see what I'm
There
saying?
you go.
Yeah.
I'm not going to teach her that. I'm not going to show her that because that wasn't me. Now, like we all saying, as she progresses, the mind develops different. Now, she comes to me 16, 17 now. Yeah, now that's a discussion.
Yeah.
I'm not going to frown upon my child, period, because that's my daughter. But that discussion becomes more wide open now because your mind's developed. You know right from wrong. You know what you're doing, stuff like that. So
Yeah. So, as far as parenting and teaching them to coexist, in my house, I don't allow racial slurs
agreed.
or gay slurs. I don't allow those either. Um, and I don't. There's no. If you see a child that's special needs, there's no pointing. I teach the pointing's rude anyway at anybody, but um, no pointing out of people that appear to be different, right? I think that's the first step to teaching them how to coexist. The fact that you are going to see people that don't look like the people that are in your house, from a race standpoint, from how they carry themselves, how they dress. There are children that are less fortunate than my son that can't dress the way he's able to dress, so we focus on those as well. But that's if as far as coexisting, I try to teach empathy and compassion for sure. Like we talk about Biblocrat and being inclusive. I try to teach my children to to walk out of, outside in that manner. And I got you beat, Mike, because I got a 23-year-old and a 21-year-old.
Oh man, you beat for real, for real.
Yeah. But but it's been, my wife and I are very open with our boys, about the bills, when it comes to sex, about money, we're open with them, and not in a trying to be their best friend kind of way, but in a very open dialogue. My 11-year-old brought he brought some images to me that he saw on TikTok, and he brought it to me, and he was dealing with anguish with it for about a month
Wow.
over what he saw. He couldn't even tell me what he saw. And eventually he told me he saw something and he wondered how it felt. So it was that, what was he exposed to that made him think a certain way. But because he has parents he can come to, and we
There it
have
is.
healthy dialogue about it, that's what we had. And I didn't say, hey man, sex before marriage, you going to hell, that's it. No, I was
Right.
like, hey man, I want you to make wise decisions. You might not want to have sex before marriage because, hey, you're three parts. You're a spirit man. You're in a body. You possess a soul. We talked about that. We talked about soul ties. We talked about these different things, and it wasn't me trying to say, oh man, let me get him focused on girls and make sure he's straight,
Right.
so he's never gay. It was I just want to make sure he's aware.
Mhm.
So whatever decision he makes, first off, he's gonna be old enough to make that type of decision, and we're gonna talk about, like, he wants a Apple Watch, right? And I was like, man, you want an Apple Watch? Yeah, Dad, I want an Apple Watch. You got one. I'm like, well, let's go buy you a Walmart $7 watch, and if you can keep up with that one,
100%.
then maybe we'll get an Apple Watch later. But it's the progression of responsibility.
Responsibility. Yeah.
Saying that you want to be a girl and no longer a boy at such a young age is a huge responsibility.
Robs them of their innocence.
Huge. So that's where I'm at with
Yeah,
it.
man.
I just don't. I don't. You don't. As a parent, you don't want to be looked at or frowned upon because you're teaching your child what you was taught, or you're teaching your child how you was raised. If I was raised in a Christian household, what am I going to? What else do you expect me to teach my child?
Right.
But as along the way as she grows, then she start venturing off in her own world. I understand that, but you can't be mad at me because I'm teaching my child a Christian walk, a Christian lifestyle, because you think, oh, I'm keeping her from getting to know her true self. No, I know my daughter true self. You know why? Because she's a part of me.
Right.
I conduct that until she can conduct that.
For
No
sure.
doubt.
You
So,
know,
audience, do us a favor and tell us about your experiences with parenting in this day and age and some of the struggles that you have, and let's talk about it.
Sure, be honest with us. Leave a comment and hit us up, merloshades.com. We talked about being inclusive,
Mhm.
and so Tarmel, I want you to dive deeper into our Biblicrat movement. Like,
Yeah.
we have the shirts on; they say Biblicrat.
Yep.
But tell us more about the vision behind the Biblicrat Summer Collection.
Yep. So this summer we dropping a lot of colorful shirts, man, to represent the Biblicrat brand. Biblicrat means that I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm a Biblicrat. That means that fundamentally I make my decisions based on the Bible, not how I feel, not what's convenient, or none of those things, right? It's all
right?
about inclusion. It's about loving each other, hearing each other's walks, meeting each other where you at, and enjoying life, destiny intersections. So we dropping a new line. It's also available at the Infinite Potential store in Altamont Springs, Florida, and at merloshades.com and or biblicrat.com. Going on there and get you some gear so you can look as dope as Brooke does in her shirt.
There
Right,
you
loving that peach, man.
go.
That's dope. I'm gonna have to get one of those. So y'all know I take notes. What did we learn today? There's a difference between acceptance and enabling. You brought that one up. That's super dope. Um, Brooke told us that we gotta ask our kids 1,000,001 questions, just like they ask us. Huh. Um, Tarmel told us that respect is the baseline. That's the starting point. That's super dope. I love that. Biblicrat is definitely inclusion only, and this might be my favorite one from Pastor B. exemplified by action indeed what love is and how it was intended. I love that one, man. So make sure y'all hit us up, man. If you are watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, please subscribe so we can keep this going. Make sure y'all hit us up on the gram at Merlot Shades. Before we get out of here, shout out to Nice Media, man. Of course,
Oh yeah.
y'all know we got a sister behind the boards, and she killing it, Peaches Johnson, wife of the great Pastor B, Pastor Brandon
Yep.
Johnson, for sure, man. A super power couple, man. Like, I want to be like them when I grow up, like, straight up.
Hey, shout out to Jaleesa Moore, man.
Yeah.
Our social
Oh,
media
y'all.
analyst, taking care of us on the back end, making sure that everything's going the way it should.
Cuzzo, yeah, she's killing our social media and, man, making sure that we're visual, we're up to date, engaging y'all, and just keeping y'all with fresh content, man. So definitely shout out to Jaleesa. Before we go, though, BK, give them your website. Let them know.
Oh, yes. Come to Now Be Adored, which is now N-O-W-B Adored, BADORED.com. Visit me there or on Instagram at Now Be Adored.
And y'all see the website on the screen, so don't act like you don't. And if
Right.
you're just listening to it, she just spelled it out for you. So you might want to get it together.
No excuses.
Like my boys say, tee up, man. Tee up, bruh.
Run that.
Tee up, bruh. But all right, man. So before we get out of here, I want to hit y'all with the GMD song of the week. That's the God Made Dirt song of the week. Like my brother said, no cornfields, no religion. We ain't doing that. It's nothing but the hottest. Now it's representing the kingdom, but it's still hot like fire, you dig? So this one is from our homeboy David Billy Jr. out of Detroit. He's actually family to the show, right? And more importantly, he's hitting us with a nostalgic 90s vibe mixed with praise and worship. So this song is called Unstoppable. It's available on all major platforms. So GMD fam, stream and download this joint, man. And as always, y'all already know, GMD, it's all on us. I know.
I know.
You are unstoppable. You are unstoppable. Do you believe that you are unstoppable? Let me talk about it. Moments come and go. Sometimes you're high, sometimes you're low. You're feeling like you can't take it. You're feeling like you won't make it. But let me tell you, troubles won't last always. Just stay focused and don't sway. The master is on your side. So when the enemy shows up, just say, I'm unstoppable. I serve a God that's invincible. You are the one that covers me. The only one that really told me you're unbreakable. You can trust me because I'm stable.
Yes, I can.
You see me do the impossible. So with me, everything is possible. Unstoppable. Twists and turns will come in your life. Twists and turns can cause foresight. I'm telling you that the twists and turns will show you the fortitude God put inside of you. He allowed the twists and turns. He allowed the fire to burn. He allowed the pain so you could learn what it means to discern wrong or right, darkness or light. Flee or fight, patience or flight. I'm telling you, he has all the insight. I'm telling you, he'll never lose a fight. All he do is win-win. Since the beginning, in him there's no losing. With him I'm cruising, there's no backing up because he's my backer. Unstoppable. I serve a God that's invincible. You are the one that covers me. You're the one that really told me you're unbreakable. You can trust me because I'm stable. Yes, I can. You see me do the impossible. I've seen you do it. With me, everything is possible. Unstoppable. I serve a God that's invincible. You are the only one. You are the one that covers me. The one that covers me. The only one that really told me you Show